hand holding, same bed sharing, but still ain't really doing much of nothing together. Okay. Hello and welcome back to Actually Let's Talk About It with me, your host Lily. And y'all, we finally gonna get into season 2 of this little interview with a vampire, y'all. Cause this show, I had so many thoughts. As y'all could see in full on the Patreon because it was... I ain't gonna get upset. Louis ain't gonna make me upset. But the way Louis was moving the entire first season was absolutely deplorable. I was so bothered, heated, disgusted. And Claudia was the only redeeming factor. And our good man that was doing the interview. Because he was calling Louis out on his bullshit. And then the Armand reveal. I'm literally coming off of just seeing Interview with the Vampire, the movie. And so I feel like I already know how season 2 gonna go. And damn, Claudia, I'm a feel for her. Because I already had an inkling into what was going to happen with Claudia from the hints they were dropping on season 1, all throughout season 1. But like, damn. And we do have a new actress playing Claudia, if that wasn't apparent already. If you know. Okay, so, like, and also I did see on TikTok, because there was just like a random... It was like a scene from season 1 of where like Lestat was crashing out one of them times, because he got a lot of crash outs. Anyway, but it was a scene from season 1, and somebody was in the comments saying how the way that Louis' memory is that he doesn't remember things as they actually were. Just like even how he was romanticizing Lestat back in the original time when he was talking with our good man and interviewer versus now, how different those accounts were. And they were saying how it makes sense that the Claudia that he saw himself with like the Claudia he believed him and Lestat knew, how she looked like him and Lestat if they were to be put together versus the actual Claudia that we'll see in season 2, which will also account for the actress being changed, which is how she actually looked the whole time. And I thought that was such a genius comment. And I wanted to say that. I thought that was so cool how they were adding that in. And we're going to see if it holds true, because I've been knew that Louis ain't remembering things right. And I'm not sure if that is because Armand is messing with his brain a little bit, or if all that animal blood is really just not doing the best things for him. So we'll see in this one. But I also have to point out a comment that one of the patrons on Patreon made, and it was from Pam. It basically says the funniest thing I think about the whole season is Armand basically listening to Louis write a true love story between him and Lestat. That's gotta hurt. Like, the fact that you introduce him at the very last second as the love of your life, while you are literally talking about all this, Lestat this, Lestat that, blah, 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 my love, my heart, my life. I'm like, is you sure this man is the love of your life? Because Armand is taking it. Like, don't get us wrong. Like, Armand, fine. He a problem. I know he a problem. Because I just saw the movie. And I know what Armand did in that movie. Played by Antonio Banderas. With his little non-middle party bust down. But, that aside, I know how Armand gonna move this season. I have an inkling of how he gonna move from that movie. It's fresh in my mind. So, we gonna get into this, y'all. And if y'all are watching this on YouTube and you're a subscriber on the YouTube channel, y'all in for a treat. Because as soon as you see this on YouTube in its little split slice and dice version, head on over to Patreon to see this for free $3.99. Because episode 1, this is gonna be free for y'all. Okay? It's gonna be free for y'all. Not the other episodes, but this one, yeah, it's gonna be free $3.99. And also, if you are a subscriber on the YouTube channel, thank you so much for being a subscriber. And if you have yet to subscribe, don't forget to do so if you'd like to support the channel further. And also a big ups, y'all, a big, gigantic ups, okay, A big gigantic ups to the lovely patrons on Patreon, y'all. Your support is so very much appreciated. We're going to get into our patron shout out. So the first patron shout out is going to go out to Clover Me. The second patron shout out is going to go out to Holly. The third patron shout out is going to go out to Bree. The fourth patron shout out is going to go out to Jaylani. The fifth patron shout out is going to go out to Virginie. The sixth patron shout out is going to go out to Pam. The seventh patron shout out is going to go out to Gemma. And the eighth and final patron shout out is going to go out to Ruve. And y'all, let me know if I'm mispronouncing anybody's name. I want to make sure I get it right for the next round of reactions. But yeah, you all, we about to get into this because I have so many questions and no answers yet. And I feel like we got to get to the bottom of this. We do. We seriously do, because what in the world? What's happening, y'all? What's happening? Planes now? Okay, that's new. That's new. Part 2. Okay. Oh, I like how they addressed it. The role of Claudia will now be played by Delaney Hales. I'm hoping I'm saying her last name correctly. That's awesome. Not Armand in the narration right now. Okay.
And rereading these pages, it's clear
Damn.
she didn't think I qualified any longer.
Infant. Tabula rasa.
Armand, I'm gonna need you to shut up.
She doesn't need the blood as often as the young do. Intrigue?
Armand's good. See, already he irritated me with his really fine ass. He's irritating me. Okay? Anyway, like all the finest in the world, which he definitely has. Kudos. Shout out to the actor. Okay, shout out to the actor. Cause sir, damn. Okay, sir, damn. Anyway, back to the point. As fine as Armand may be, I understand, Louis, the levels of stupid you're willing to go, because Lestat ain't ugly, Armand ain't ugly, far from it, actually. Okay, none of them men that he has been as stupid as fuck for is ugly. So, like, at least you know how to pick them, because I would feel even more anger if none of the men was fine. But, because they are so fine, it still doesn't. I'm so angry at Louis, because I'm like, get off your knees. They're shits. Like, they're pretty in the face, but the soul is a waste. Like, come on now. Stand up, Louis. Stand up. Especially knowing how Armand did Claudia in the movie. It's fresh in my mind still, y'all. I just saw the movie. And you out here sitting at the table, kikiing, rehashing your times with Claudia, like he ain't caused her to not be here, unless they write it differently in here.
Claudia was a thing of little indecision. A manic tour guide warned me, and my refusal to burn Lestat had dulled into a bitter silence.
Louis? Did you say something?
Sir.
Thank you for asking. I did say something, Claudia.
I need him to stop. You betrayed her.
It's dead. His bones, why don't you? Louis de Pointe-de-Lac. Dead weight.
Yeah, that's what you were. Don't be offended that she called you as you were.
Moby Dick, real Rashid? They send you when Shah Rukh Khan over here was playing you.
Heaven.
Panic room behind the...
He's just been weak. And I have to acknowledge that Louis has been weak the entire time. And it's not because he actually is. He's just choosing to be. Claudia is the only one that's been remaining strong. He was weak in episodes, I want to say since episode 1, really. Like, he just had a lot of faux strength. He has a lot of faux intelligence, but it's just filler. It has no substance. And that's why he was able to be so easily swayed by Lestat. Because nothing about Louis is actually built on any secure foundation. His brother had more security than him. And I think that's what we're seeing. Louis, the reason why his memory is going is because he never actually had a sense of self. His identity was always surrounded by other people who are either no longer alive or no longer with him, or ideologies that he no longer believes in. So he has nothing to ground him. He has no true sense of self. And that's why his memory isn't right. That's why Claudia has to carry him. That's why Claudia refuses to leave him, because she knows without him, he'll die. Without her, he'll die. And unfortunately, because of him, she will. Really? Really, Louis?
No.
Forget you, ho.
Because we don't give a damn.
Purgatory is a lovely room for me. I have only peace. Just forget throat and I'm gonna bloody kill you. But you're alive. You've done it already.
Because he is alive. And I know for a fact that Lestat has enough power to actually be able to do this. He's purposely taunting Louis because he knows exactly where Louis and Claudia are. He knows exactly what Louis and Claudia are doing. Because unlike the film, where he tried to attack them before they left for Europe, Lestat gets off more by harassing Louis in Europe. Because he already knows how it's going to go. And he already knows how fragile Louis is. And he's going to drag this out as long as he can to deal a very horrible blow to Louis, the same way he felt that Louis and Claudia did to him, because he's vindictive like that. And he hates the fact that he lost control. He hates the fact that Claudia one-upped him. And he hates the fact that there was nothing he could have done to have a different outcome for himself, because it weakened him greatly, but he still has power. He's just been waiting and plotting his revenge for the last 4 years because he's so upset that a fledgling vampire like Claudia got him. Because it was the fact that he said it last season, that he could hear the thoughts of her rapist and still chose to not go where she was to protect her. But he had enough in him to mock her for it. And to mock the fact that he could do that. And that's something that Louis never knew. And I don't think he still doesn't know it to this day. But it shouldn't take all that for you to understand that this man is never going to be for you. He wants power over you. And this is his way of having power over him. Because like I said, Louis doesn't know who he is. So he is as fickle as a leaf on a breeze. He's just riding the wave wherever the wind takes him. And that's how he's lived his life. And we're not shocked. Like I said, Louis constantly gives in to white supremacy. And I'm never going to not say that. Not just this Louis, but the original Louis. They both have that flaw. They love aligning themselves with white supremacy. Claudia does not. But she keeps him around because she believes that she owes him that much. And I wish she would just realize way sooner that she doesn't owe Louis anything. Because Louis' loyalties were never to her. That's why he was crying over Lestat's body last episode in season 1. That's why he wanted Lestat to be dumped somewhere where he would have a food resource. Yeah, I'm gonna say that.
7,000 souls by then. But Lestat was the only one that felt like murder.
They vampires?
Another crucifix.
Hey, now, look at it.
Oh shit.
Look like you should. Don't say anything about anything.
All have sad story.
Heaven.
You
She was like,
my English?
mm-hmm.
Emilia. American, ще до водка чи cigari?
Yeah, say something. Anything.
Something, anything.
Heaven.
Louis.
She's a quick study, actually, and very resourceful, and I'm desperately in love with her. I hear her vodka.
Mary, go meet the other children. I bet they know everything about this place.
Mm-hmm. And that's what people need to remember. Children always is listening on adult conversations and always talking about it with one another. If she really wants to know if there's vampires, the best place to start is with the kids. Because they tell all the business. Even business that they should know good and damn well. They don't need to be sharing with the general public. Kids don't got no filter sometimes, and I love that to a fault. Like, they don't have a filter to a fault. And I'm like, I love be a good gossipy kid. Especially if you was in the church. Good lord. All the adult conversations they heard the past week in the congregation was being told at daycare. Anyway.
Child, Claudia left. And then she said it. Detail right.
In total agreement.
Perhaps this would be a time to take a break, Louis.
I'm pretty good at my job. I'm right.
If you don't quit calling him real Rashid.
Interviewed a fallen Catholic archbishop. After you, real Rashid. You I can fucking break.
Will you excuse me?
What I find so crazy is how all those nursery rhymes are literally tragedy tales. Some of them genocide tales. Like Ring Around the Rosie, Pocket Full of Posies, Ashes, Ashes, We All Fall Down is literally talking about children dying from the plague. Like, and they taught us that like it was a regular old... It's crazy work. Oh, we don't gotta push kids that are younger than us. That's mean. Not him saying his sister is his wife. That's crazy. Oh.
Old country with old things in it.
More mad folk. She's currently village prefect.
Come on, dear. Looking like you looking. He's not in his right mind anymore. Because he does drink from dead people.
A red is no judgment, simple question.
What is a red? Hold on, let me look that up. What does that mean? Oh, a communist? Or a leftist? It could be about politics? Okay, maybe he's asking him about politics. Because I was like, what the hell is a red?
From our way. 30 years old, which would make her 60, 65. Seemed like a good man.
He just wants to figure out why he's lying.
Songs have hope. Never mess with a magical vodka people.
Sir.
You're gonna leave out a tree.
Tried telepathy?
Yes.
Yes, it spoke?
Yes, I tried telepathy.
So it did speak.
I think it was sick. Tell you you're pretty. Hell with him, is that it?
Hello, Grudge.
No, I forgave you for messing up my plan. I did not forgive you for bringing him with you. Only 4 vampires in my life, and you've all been the worst. Lestat, Antoinette, the motherfucker, and you.
Purr.
One. Just one that ain't a goddamn bastard.
Dreaming. Her head twitching like you would. Feel her next to me. She's having a nightmare. Something she wrote. But it wasn't true. She could dream.
I feel sorry for you, Louis. Because it's your fault.
To the noise.
Everything bad that's happened to Claudia is his and Lestat's fault.
I'll have it back on the factory.
She might have gotten bit by that thing outside.
Affairs. Death and how to avoid it. Their problem. Sir was in the woods.
There was nothing they could have did for her. There was nothing they could have did for her. Let them leaving bait. Y'all.
It's yours. We don't want it.
What the hell is that?
Louis, down.
Woman vampire.
Trying to create vampires the wrong way, maybe? That's why they look weird? Because I don't think her blood is good. Or she doesn't drink from things that could give life.
Bad here. The humans. There's too much sadness.
A fost un tip foarte comic. Sunt în întuneric. Se duc în întuneric.
What's she saying?
Morți. S-au dus toți. Da. O să mă luați cu voi. Peste o...
And that is we removed. Claudia's diaries.
We made an agreement. Yes.
He's skilled.
He wants you in pieces for the privilege of putting them back together as he sees fit.
Armand being an iPad kid is crazy work, considering this is not even his
What's his
era.
observation?
We do it together. Like everything we've done for the past 70 years.
Oh my god. 70 years? Of whatever the hell this is? And I was like, why ain't they under the covers? They vampires. I need to get it together. Because it's the fact that they don't sleep in coffins. And technically Armand doesn't even need to sleep. But Louis do. I am getting tired of Armand. Already. We're not even over. The episode ain't even over. I'm tired of Armand, y'all. I'm tired of him. Because he's so manipulative. The fact that you took pages out of Claudia's journals just so that the interviewer who Louis called to interview him, harassed to interview him, beckoned to come to interview him, literally has an autoimmune disease and came to Dubai in the midst of a pandemic on a global scale to come do this interview with y'all. And with Louis, really, that Armand is literally invading the interview with his messiness and his lies and his deceit. Armand getting on my nerves, y'all. And Claudia, like, she really wants to find goodness in vampires. And that woman was sort of kind of like her. But the fact that she saw how even someone she shared similarities to didn't want to live anymore because of the bleakness of her options, I think this is going to mess her up more so than what we could possibly think. That woman's death was significant in Claudia's journey, I think, because she was a vampire. Claudia doesn't care about humans, so humans dying is nothing to her. But seeing a vampire relinquish her immortality because the last of her kind is dead and she's the only one left standing, it's going to do a number on Claudia that is yet to be foreseen. I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like that. Hand holding, same bed sharing, but still ain't really doing much or nothing together. Okay.
Louis and the vampire Armand. You went west.
On their hopeful way.
Heaven.
It is shit. It's gonna be shit again.
Damn.
Stop feeling sorry for yourself. I'll never taste the fire, you understand me? We're gonna find others like us. Last vampire on Earth. We'll be enough.
Period. Well, who did he say that to? I feel like Louis was saying that to the last part. You know, even if you were the last vampire on Earth, that would be enough, because Louis didn't say none of that to her. And I think that's the most disgusting part about it, is that Louis said none of that dialogue to her the whole time he was looking at Lestat. As long as you're on this earth, the fire will never know his name. Because Lestat's still alive. In the current timeline. How do we know this? Because he doesn't refer to Lestat in the past tense. He refers to him presently. He only refers to Claudia in the past tense. And we also know this because season 3 is about the vampire Lestat. Because we're heading into the Queen of the Damned storyline from that film. And from the books, obviously. But from that film. So, everything Louis said wasn't to uplift her. It was to uplift himself, to offer comfort to Claudia. But at the end of the day, every promise that he made about him staying alive as long as this person is in the world, the person he's referring to is Lestat. That's why to this day, he's still alive. And I feel like that is so awful that Claudia thought that those words were meant for her. But I feel like she knew they weren't. But she accepted them anyway. Because at least he said them. Even if in her heart, because Claudia has that power of discernment like that, you know, I feel like discernment is a natural thing you have when you seek after righteousness. And discernment is a thing that, especially as African Americans, which Claudia and Louis both are, we tend to lean into because we can see through the bullshit. I feel like Claudia knew he wasn't talking to her, but she still accepted the words anyway. Because Louis really wanted to be talking to her when he said those words, but he wasn't. He wanted to. But when he said those words, he was talking to Lestat. You know, I feel that. I could be wrong about that, but I feel that. I feel like this whole episode was really to lay the groundwork for how Louis will always choose Lestat over Claudia. How Lestat will always covet Louis to an extent. And how at the end of the day, in this case, the biggest loser out of all of this situation from seasons 1 through 2 will be Claudia. The person who had the most potential. The person who deserved to live. Because Claudia's death, her human death, and her vampire death are all at the result of Louis's actions. She would have never been in this situation to be a vampire if Louis hadn't have literally ignited a race war. She wouldn't be in this position to have to go through what she'll be going through in France. Because out of all the places to go, you chose to go to a place that Lestat is from. So the vampires there will automatically know him. And Louis can try to say it was the mother of New Orleans. It's not, though. It's not. France is not the mother of New Orleans. The names are similar, yes. But that place is birthed out of Black culture, Black ingenuity, and indigenous culture and indigenous ingenuity. Ain't no real France up in that. Except for in the language that they literally mix with African and English tongues. Which is Creole. So, be for real. Because the seasoning damn sure didn't come from France. The architecture, you forget that France's architecture, much like Spain, its architecture comes from the Moors. Predominantly, who were both West Asian, aka Arab. If we're going to get into it, and Black. Let's not give too much credit where it's not due. That's why they stood the test of time. Everything that they built. And that's why it can't be duplicated. I said what I said. So yeah, I feel like this episode is really laying down, like I said, a lot of what's going to happen. I feel like watching the interview with the vampire movie really put into perspective how the season's going to go. I'm expecting, and I'm hoping for Claudia to at least have a bit of peace before everything hits the fan for her. But, it's just really sad that this is the situation that she's in because of the actions of the adults around her, really. Because she was a child. And because of the actions of people she hadn't even known yet, it spun her life into what we're seeing. And I feel like that cause and effect, and how that quote from that one European man that I don't remember the name of, how the greatest harm can come from the best intentions. The greatest harm can come from the best intentions. And it's not just about Louis, it's about Claudia. Her greatest harm came from her best intention, and that was to keep Louis by her side. The greatest harm to her was Louis, who she, no matter what, still wanted to keep close to her. And I feel like she should have stayed away from them. She should have never went back. And she would have lived longer than she did, sticking with Louis, dealing with all his bullshit, breaking away from Lestat, going to Lestat's hometown. Like, he still doesn't have roots there. And it's just gonna be unfortunate. That's all. I just know it. Okay, like, y'all, ooh, I hate to see it. But yeah, y'all, that is my reaction to season 2, episode 1 of Interview with the Vampire. And if y'all stayed all the way until the end of this reaction, I want to thank y'all so much for watching. And if you're watching this video on YouTube and you're a subscriber on the channel, thank you so much for being a subscriber. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you have yet to subscribe to the channel, do not forget to do so if you would like to support the channel further. And last but most definitely not least, a big ups to the lovely and the incredible patrons on Patreon, y'all. Check it out. Check it out. If you're not on Patreon, check it out. Check it out. See how we living over here. But yeah, y'all, that is my reaction. And now we're going to get into our moment of solidarity, because we need to talk about this. We need to talk about what is going on in the world. We need to talk about what's happening in my country. As y'all know, since September 10th, things have been going away in the US of A. We have what's happening with ICE, which has been ongoing since the beginning of this year, really. We have what's going on in our government. We are currently in the midst of a shutdown. We have the fact that this government is still aiding and abetting the genocide in Palestine. And then we have the issue of HBCUs being under threat and attack by white nationalists and white supremacists. And we have to call that out. And we have to make sure that people realize what is happening within my community, the Black community, and how that is affecting us internally. I feel like people don't know what HBCU is. So it is a historically Black college or university if you are not African American or if you are Black and have never heard the term. So these institutions are known for being, of course, predominantly Black. There are still people who are not Black that go to these HBCUs because they still do accept people as long as you meet the grades and the scoring requirement, but they are predominantly Black. They are meant to preserve our culture, and they were made in response to PWIs, which are predominantly white institutions, who would purposely not allow Black people in. That's why HBCUs became a thing. So recently there have been these very weird European Americans, these very racist European Americans, trying to literally invade on these university students' campuses and their time to harass them with their white supremacist rhetoric. And they've just been getting ignored as of late. And they've been recorded and they've been arrested in some cases because they were not invited to speak at these campuses. And in the midst of that, and the threats against HBCUs where they had to close the campus because white supremacists and white nationalists were threatening to harm university students that are Black, mind you, because of the actions of a white man that killed another white man, may I add. We have issues like this coinciding with September 15th, which was the day that Trey Reed was found hanging from a tree near a pickleball court on his campus in Mississippi. And police love to label these type of lynchings as suicide when we as a community know that that's not it. Mississippi is known for the Mississippi burning cases. If you're not familiar, I will recommend looking them up. They are known for lying about the lynchings of Black people, the government of Mississippi and the counties lying about the lynchings of Black people, specifically Black men, and labeling them as suicide when they are not. So this one really, it upset me to no end. The first autopsy, it was obvious that the coroner lied. They tried to call it a suicide. They tried to say that there is no signs of trauma. But Colin Kaepernick, who is a former NFL quarterback for the 49ers and is now an activist, he does have a Know Your Rights camp, and they have an autopsy initiative, which offers free secondary post-mortem examinations when the family has suspicions about the professionalism and the report of the initial one solicited by the county. And in those findings, it revealed that there was blunt force trauma to the back of his head, which would not come if he committed suicide, and is inconsistent with a death by suicide. And there was the threats that his mother said he received and other relatives said he received about his life that was in danger on the campus. They said he had faced persistent racism, direct threats before he died, and they were ignored by the police and investigators. And so now we have Benjamin Crump, who is a prominent civil rights attorney. I believe he represented George Floyd's family. He represented, I believe, Ahmaud Arbery's family and Breonna Taylor's family. So we're hoping for justice here. And this Trey Reed's case is unfortunately not the only one. Since 2000, the last 25 years, there have been 8 lynchings of black men in Mississippi that have been reported as suicides, contrary to the families and friends' testimonies. So we do need to talk about this, because this is what's affecting my people directly right here, right now, in 2025. And now we're going to go into what's happening with our brothers and sisters in our theys and thems in Cameroon. There's an ongoing armed conflict, as you are well aware of now if you've been watching me for a minute. And it is known to have been going on for over 8 years now. It is between the separatists, or the militias, and the Anglophone regions, and the Cameroonian government. Basically, the Cameroonian government doesn't appreciate the fact that they're declaring their sovereignty, and they've been going back and forth ever since that the Cameroonian government tried to squash their sovereignty and their independence movement in 2017. And there have been 2 times that they've tried to have a mediation for a ceasefire, and they both failed. So it is important to know that so many people have been displaced in everything that has happened. It is important to know that thousands of people have been killed in the midst of this back and forth between the Cameroonian government and the separatist movements in the Anglophone regions. So do keep an eye on it. As soon as I get more donation links for the Cameroonian people who have been displaced, y'all will see them on the link tree. Okay? Know this. And then we have to talk about what our brothers and sisters, theys and thems, are going through in Congo, because it's a lot as well. Congolese people, they are being worked to the bone. They are having to deal with sexual violence, economic, turmoil, a corrupt government, and foreign interest invading their country and harassing them and forcing them to do slave labor in 2025. And we need to talk about it, because it's affecting millions of Congolese people. It's making them sick with the mining conditions. Just for something as simple as cobalt, which powers our phones. It's powering my phone that I'm using to record this. It powers this monitor here. It powers this laptop here. It powers all of this. And they are willing to sacrifice black bodies and black safety to have these resources. And we need to talk about it. We need to keep being vocal for the Congo. We need to keep boycotting new tech. We need to boycott every Apple and Samsung release, every HP and Intel release, until they quit mining in the Congo without giving the people a proper cut of that money. Because while you're making billions, if not trillions, off of these black people's resources that is native to their region, and they're seeing pennies or nothing at all, that's a problem to me. We need to make sure that they have safety, that they have security, that their homes are being invaded by militias from Rwanda, that the US government, the British government, the French government, the Israeli governments are trying to keep their hands on these mines and relinquish ownership back to the Congolese people. And until they do that, it's no new tech for me. It's no none of that for me, because you're not going to exploit people that I'm actually ancestrally connected to, and you're also not going to exploit black people and think that I'm going to buy your shit. I don't care who you are. And that's for real. We need to talk about Lebanon, how since the ceasefire was negotiated back in November, how there have been over 100 civilians, if not more, killed within the last 10 months. And this is reported by Associated Press as of October 1st. We need to talk about that and how Lebanese people shouldn't be going through this level of grief and devastation, and how also the IOF's operations have cost $11 billion worth of destruction and 4,000 people their lives. And that's all I'm going to say. We did talk about the Samud flotillas and how they all were intercepted, and how not even half of the crew of over 400 people across all of these flotilla boats have been released. We need to talk about the way that the Israeli occupation has been describing the conditions of the prisons that they are holding these people in, illegally, may I add, against human rights. Okay, against their human rights, committing human rights violations. We need to talk about how they treated the women who are Muslim in these prisons that have been fortunately released, how they forcefully removed their hijabs and their other clothing and made them kneel, and knew exactly who they were because of their social media profiles, and still did that, knowing that they are Muslim women. How they dragged Greta Thunberg, who is autistic, may I add, and who was literally a climate activist, dragged her by her hair because she's not big, and made her kiss the Israeli flag, and kept dragging her by her hair and doing other things against her to make an example out of her to her colleagues. We need to talk about that as well. We need to talk about how we still keep seeing devastation in Gaza right now. They had an ability and a reprieve of IOF occupation of the waters to fish while the global Samud flotilla was in action, but people are still starving in Gaza. We got to talk about how they're trying to say that a truce is coming, and literally the second anniversary of this genocide is tomorrow, on the 7th. And there's no real initiative made by the occupying forces to really prove that they are going to honor any type of ceasefire agreement or any end to the genocide agreement. And so the negotiations are being held, and that's really all we can say. It's just that the negotiations are being held right now, but it hasn't stopped the fact that they're still bombing. They're still bombing. Like Palestinians, they're still being bombed in Gaza City. We can't lie that since Friday, Israeli forces have killed 104 people at least, regardless of the fact that President Orange told them to halt their bombing campaign so that they can successfully extract the hostages, and so that the Israeli government can give their Palestinian hostages back. Like, it's just not making sense. It's just not making sense. They're moving weird, and they're being allowed to move weird for whatever reason, and I don't respect it. We need to talk about Sudan, how the price of being a journalist can result in you being murdered, you being sexually assaulted, or you going into starvation. We need to talk about how the surviving journalists are still being hunted down by the RSF, which is again funded by the UAE and Saudi Arabia. We need to talk about the fact that They are at a level 5 starvation. It's the entirety of Sudan. And we need to talk about the fact that sexual violence when it comes to the RSF is becoming rampant in Sudan. And we also need to talk about the fact that the price of everything has gone up. So a kilo of sugar went from $2 to $28. Some rice and some flour, for a kilo of that, it is literally $80 now. It's just crazy work. We did talk about Syria, how even though the al-Assad fell, how the IOF and the Israeli government and other foreign entities are still preying on the vulnerability of Syrians. And while 1 million Syrian refugees have been returned home, there is still the issue of 7 million Syrians who are still displaced within their own country. And then we have to talk about the fact that the UN is not providing enough aid. There's not enough humanitarian support to really get those other millions of people back on their feet and being able to return comfortably to their homes. We need to talk about what's happening in Tigray, specifically the sexual violence in Tigray, how it's being enacted by the Ethiopian members of government and the Eritrean government, how they are all complicit and guilty in what happens to Tigrayan girls and women and boys and men, that they are still complicit in not making sure that their safety is ensured and making sure that civilians are protected and making sure that they're not displaced and without proper living conditions. And we need to advocate for a free Tigray. And we need to keep talking about these things so that we can keep showing up and showing out for these people while they're still here. Because we have to talk about Tigray. We have to keep talking and talking and talking about Tigray, because the humanitarian aid is needed. They need better food. They need better medicine. They need better living conditions. And the government that's supposed to be providing them those things are contributing to their ethnic cleansing by their inaction or their lack of care. So it is important to remember these things. And I'm going to leave you all with that. But if you stayed all the way until the end to listen to the moment of solidarity, I want to thank you all so much. And I will see you all in the next reaction. But until then, y'all, bye.